If you will seated.
I think the other mic is better.
Magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi po din.
Maayong gabi.
Maayong gabi po.
Good evening all. There has been 2 Independence Days in the history of the Philippines. The latter of the 2 was on the 4th of July, 1946, when General Douglas MacArthur declared the military campaign versus the Japanese closed. And the United States of America recognized the Philippines as an independent, sovereign country. But that is a topic for a different conversation. Tonight, I'm going to talk about a short version, I promise, a short version of the first Philippine independence and its connection with an organization that is housed in this magnificent building. It is a historical fact that in 1885, the Spanish Governor General of the Philippines, Emilio Terrero, allowed Filipinos to travel to Europe. They were basically the first OFWs, overseas Filipino workers. And while on the continent, they were exposed to new ideas like justice and freedom. So when they returned back to the Philippines, they questioned the inequality of the Spanish rule and the overreaching influence of the friars. And in 1872, a small revolt started in the province of Cavite. It was 20 years later that Filipino nationalists began to organize in secret. In 1892, Dr. Jose Rizal founded La Liga Filipina, the Philippine League, which was a secret organization with the purpose of involving the people directly in the reform movement. It was sort of a mutual aid and self-help society, dispensing funds for scholarships, legal aid, loaning of capital, and setting up cooperatives. I know these are very innocent objectives, but the Spanish authorities were so alarmed by this that they arrested Rizal on July 6, 1892. When La Liga Filipina was about to be exposed by the Spanish authorities, it split into 2 groups. The conservatives, led by Domingo Franco and Domeriano Adriano, formed the Cuerpo de Compromisarios, the body of delegates, which pledges to continue the aim of increasing Spanish awareness of the needs of their colony, the Philippines. Some of their goals were reinstate Philippine representation in the Spanish Parliament, legalize Filipino and Spanish equality, reestablish Spanish citizenship for Filipinos, reestablish the Philippines as a province of Spain, secularize the clergy, and especially to guarantee basic civil freedoms. The radicals, led by Andres Bonifacio, formed a nationalist brotherhood. In English, the Supreme and Honorable Association of the Children of the Nation. We officially know it in Filipino as Kakataas-taasan, Kagalang-galangang Katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan. We know it in the Philippines as the KKK. And no, not that KKK that is here in the States. They were simply called the Katipunan. The Katipunan was a secret society with memberships mostly of peasants and the middle class. It employed pseudo-Masonic rituals when they recruited and initiated new members to impart an air of sacred mystery. Its main goal was to overthrow the Spanish rule through armed revolution, as they believed that to be the only way to achieve Philippine independence. I know I said armed revolution, but they were mostly only armed with bolo knives, like a machete, spears made out of bamboo, and if lucky enough, a flintlock musket. On August 1896, Andres Bonifacio, with his 30,000 poorly armed Katipuneros, called for the Filipinos to rise up against Spain by tearing their cidulas, their community tax certificates. We know this in history as the cry of Balintawak. Around October 1896, Dr. Jose Rizal was again arrested, and he was eventually martyred on December 30, 1896, which is the reason why Filipino communities around the world celebrate December 30 as Rizal Day. A year later, December 15, 1897, the Spanish government and the Filipino revolutionaries, led by General Emilio Aguinaldo, signed a truce, the Pact of Biak na Bato, to end Philippine revolution. It required the Spanish to pay 800,000 Mexican pesos to the revolutionaries. But in exchange, the revolutionary government will have to go on exile, which they did. But during their exile in Hong Kong, General Aguinaldo used this money to purchase modern firearms and ammunition, and eventually returned to the Philippines to continue the struggle for independence. Did you know that? On the afternoon of June 12, 1896, General Emilio Aguinaldo promulgated the Philippine Declaration of Independence on the balcony of his ancestral home in Kawit, Cavite, which is now a national shrine, which I encourage you to come visit if you're around that area. Why have I mentioned these particular names, and what do they have in common? Their commonality lies in the fact that they were all free Freemasons. Dr. Jose Rizal, the hero of the Philippines, was a member of Logia Acacia number 9 of the Gran Oriente de España in Madrid, Spain. Domingo Franco and Mariano Adriano, the founders of Cuerpo de Compromisarios, were members of Logia Balagtas number 149 in Sampaloc, Manila. Andres Bonifacio, the father of the Philippine Revolution, was a member of Daliva Lodge number 165. General Emilio Aguinaldo, the first president of the Philippine Republic, was a member of Pilar Lodge number 203 in Imus, Cavite. General Douglas MacArthur is affiliated with Manila Lodge number 1, was made an honorary 33rd degree Mason on December 8, 1947 at the American Embassy in Tokyo, Japan. And Governor General Emilio Terrero was a 33rd degree Mason from Spain. Other famous Filipino Masons include Apolinario Mabini, the brains of the revolution, was a member of Logia Balagtas number 149. Marcelo H. del Pilar, the father of Philippine Freemasonry, and General Antonio Luna, hero of the Philippine-American War, were members of Logia Solidaridad number 5. Manuel Quezon, the first president of the Philippine Commonwealth, was a member of Sinukuan Lodge number 272 in Tondo, Manila. And the 13 martyrs of Cavite, 10 of which were Freemasons. General Aguinaldo, as my brother already said, later declared, and I quote, and I'll repeat this, "The successful revolution of 1896 was Masonically inspired, Masonically led, and Masonically executed. And I venture to say that the first Philippine Republic, of which I was its humble president, was an achievement largely to Masonry and the Masons." So you see, Freemasonry is not trying to take over the world. It is not anti-government. It is not anti-religion. Freemasons are just men. Some great, like George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Winston Churchill. Some famous, like Mark Twain, Voltaire, John Wayne, and my favorites, the inventors and founders of Dr. Pepper, Canada Dry Ginger Ale, Coca-Cola, and yes, Pepsi-Cola. Some contemporary Mason celebrities are like Brad Paisley, Shaquille O'Neal, Tito Soto, and yes, Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. And some common people like myself and others in this room, striving to make our little part of the world a better place to live in. Mabuhay po kayong lahat. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Maraming salamat. It is very, very educational.